Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. ഞാൻ ഒരു പവർ പോയിന്റ് പ്രസന്റേഷനിലൂടെ ഇന്നത്തെ ടോക്ക് അവതരിപ്പിക്കാം. It's already 12:30 afternoon in the US, and I know it's too late for you there in India. I think, we are 9:30 hours behind India. So I hope you all are doing good. I'll start sharing the PPT here. Okay, so we are going to cover a part of this topic. I guess it's not. I hope I'm not supposed to cover almost all of the topic which is given. So it's navigating the academic writing process from idea to publication. I know. I hope most of the participants in this talk are at least are interested in some academic writing. Maybe it's research publications or some other academic writing. And so at the beginning, I should say the perseverance is truly a necessary attribute to succeed in academic life. In my case, last week, one of my papers got accepted in +1, which I wrote 3 years ago. Today, I resubmitted a revised version of a paper in the morning, which I originally conceived the idea during the complete lockdown during the coronavirus pandemic. So let's start talking about the publications and academic writing and non-academic writing. So first of all, I'll just introduce myself. I'm a pass out. Sorry, I'm a pass out from Muhammed Nurani College of Islamic Science. I'm from the 9th batch. After graduating from Muhammed Nurani College, I enrolled for Masters in Population Studies at International Institute for Population Sciences, Mumbai. I did MPhil in Population Studies after my Masters. So it's already 3 years. After that, I did my PhD in Demography and Population Studies at International Institute for Population Sciences. Simultaneously, I did a Master's in Economics at IGNOU. After my PhD, after graduating, so it was before being awarded as a PhD, I did some job as a senior project officer at WHO SAGE project, which was located in Mumbai. After that, I got an offer from Pennsylvania State University, and I'm currently affiliated with 2 departments here. One is the Center for Healthy Aging, especially the Stealth Lab, which is studying the sleep, stress, and health indicators. So basically, we look at sleep and health. What are the pathways linking these both? Again, I'm also affiliated with the Population Research Institute at Penn State University. So the journey started from Muhammed Nurani College of Islamic Sciences, and I'm so much grateful to all the asatida, all the colleagues and everybody who was in Muhammed Nurani College, and I'm proud to be an alumni of Muhammed Nurani College of Islamic Sciences, and it's a great pleasure to be engaging with the students and faculty at Muhammed Nurani College of Islamic Sciences. So yeah, I'm currently a postdoctoral scholar at Department of Health and Human Development and Family Studies under the School of Health and Human Development at Penn State. Let's start talking about the topic. So this is less of a presentation and more of a healthy vending session. I expected so, but I don't think we may have more interaction since it's too late for you. But again, I hope if there is any concerns, any questions you have, you can simply interrupt and ask me those. I'll try to respond to each and every questions. So here I'll provide some observations and lessons I learned about academic writing and the publication process throughout my journey after enrolling at IIPS. I started publishing papers, and it's been a great experience. And all the opinions expressed here are mine, and alternative viewpoints are always welcome. So when we talk about academic writing, it's sort of different from what we think about the actual writing. It's mostly we always engage in non-academic writing. So academic writing is always kind of, so we have a scholarly audience, we have people who are more educated, people who are in the field of research and things like that. And very important point about academic writing is it's always evidence-based. So we whenever we write anything, we should have some facts supporting that, and it should be formal, it should be structured. So that these are the things which differentiate between academic and non-academic. I hope the participants are following me. So if there is anything not going right, please let me know. So in case of non-academic writing, it's always kind of personal. It's all about some emotions. We write the emotions, we write things which are personal, which may not be supported by evidence, which can be, so which is also addressing a wider audience than just a scholarly audience. So here in this talk, we will be focusing on academic writing, and especially the research publications, which are always meant to be scientifically written. So here, when I hope I'm addressing to the students and scholars and faculty at Madinatul College of Islamic Sciences and maybe some others. So when you think about, so you seriously think about some publications or some writing, academic writing, we have to think about the things which come between identifying the question, identifying the research problem, to what are we are doing and how we are going to make it to the public, how we are going to publish that that content we are going to write. So when we start thinking of an academic writing, we always have to have some thoughts about what all we are going to do in this process. It may take a long time, but it may take we can also make it in a shorter period of time. So I would try to explain what all we can do it with a shorter period of time, but again, with not compromising the quality of writing. So if we focus on the things which I like to share here, we always have better scope. We always have better platform where we can publish the thing. So these steps, I would say, these are not linear. There may be some steps which are not necessarily be after another step. So it's also not inclusive. There may be some other, there are many other steps depending on the topic or depending on the problem you are addressing, you are writing about. And so I'll just focus on the peer-reviewed journal articles here. But again, I'll also talk about the other non-academic writing stuff. So first of all, we have to think about what all we are planning to disseminate. What are we are going to, what is it that we are going to publish? Again, we have to think about whether it is a research article, or whether it's a book chapter, or is it a final report for some community partners, or some pamphlet, or something else, or it can be just an email to your mentor, to your supervisor, or to your teacher, or somebody who is your colleague. So these things, when it's academic, we have to think about what are the objectives of what we are going to write. especially for papers, we have to have a couple of objectives in the beginning of the paper. So when we write introduction, it should be focused. It should be followed by a couple of objectives. It can be just a single objective, and after once we have that objective, or once we think about a research problem, we have to think about whether the paper truly adds something to the evidence already existing. And after that, we always have to think about what is the best fit for the writing, whatever we are going to write. So whether it's a journal article, so if we have to have some idea about what all the journals we have in that area of research. So these are the first steps we have to have in mind. And I'll go through these in detail across different stages. So first, I'll talk in Malayalam and English. I hope that's better. First, നമ്മൾ ഒരു വിഷയത്തിൽ പഠിക്കാൻ തുടങ്ങുമ്പോൾ അതിൽ ഫസ്റ്റ് ആയിട്ട് നമ്മൾ ചെയ്യേണ്ടത് ഐഡന്റിഫൈ അവർ ഏരിയാസ് ഓഫ് റിസർച്ച്. സോ it's for early career researchers, we always have limited skill sets. So നമ്മൾ പലപ്പോഴും നമ്മളുടെ സ്കിൽ സെറ്റ്സിനെ കുറിച്ച് അവെയർ ആവൂല. നമ്മളുടെ സ്കിൽസ്, areas of interest, when we think about it, we always get stuck. What are my skills? So it may not be aligning with what my areas of interest are. So we have to recognize what we know, and we also have to recognize what we don't know. So when we know about something we don't know, we have more options to try, and we can identify what we want to know. So when we have these things, when we have ideas about what we know, what we don't know, what we want to know, we can start thinking about a particular area of interest we have, and start reading. So a good writer should be a good reader always. So I think the starting point of whatever we want to publish, it's always from the stage of reading. So when we want to read, choose a topic. So if you don't see 4 to 5 papers in that particular topic, keep looking for that particular problem. So we explore different topics, and we have very particular areas of interest in our mind. So among those areas of interest, we specialize our topic of interest, and we start exploring the literature. We start exploring what all is already existing, and we start to master ourselves with the existing literature. So we have to read maybe it's the same article we are reading, but we have to read it multiple times, and for the sake of understanding the evidence which they are putting forward, and then mastering that area of study. So making a routine of reading is the must thing when we start thinking about writing academically. So think about interesting questions, identify novel ones. So we have to think about things which are more interesting to the audience. So the journals, they always have particular interests, particular aims and scope. So we have to have some ideas. We have to have the idea that any journal will be interested only in some interesting topics, that too very novel. So if there is some interesting topic which already been explored, journals never mind about it. They just desk reject it. So desk rejection happens when you submit a paper, you submit a write-up to any platform, and then they just reject it at the first sight. First, when we see your first draft of the manuscript, they just reject without sending it to review. So I think, I don't know how diverse is my audience is, but again, I'll try to keep the things short and comprehensible to whoever has joined here. But again, yeah. So first thing is reading the literature which is already existing, and when we have things which are in our which is very figured out about its novelty, its aspects of getting published, we have to think about a good research team, or it can be just your mentor, it can be just your teacher, your colleagues. So it may not necessarily be to have somebody who is going to be your co-author, or somebody who is going to write a co-write with you. It can be just your mentor who is helping you out how to figure out the things, how to draft a first manuscript of your idea. So these are the first steps and that will come in the first stage. Again, we all have to know that there is a quote by Albert Einstein: if we knew what it was we were doing, it would not be called research. നമുക്ക് already നമ്മൾ ചെയ്യാൻ പോകുന്ന കാര്യം അറിഞ്ഞിരുന്നെങ്കിൽ അത് it's not going to be called research, because research is always exploring or maybe what we say, exploring the things which are already existing, or exploring the things which are novel. So after exploring the things and after synthesizing from what's existing, what you already know, what others already know, you are coming to a point where you have something which is new. So you didn't know that thing beforehand when you started writing. So again, when we talk about academic writing, the publications, it's always there is qualitative as well as quantitative aspects to it. So qualitative aspects are mainly I think we have a good audience. We have good number of participants who are expert in qualitative research. But again, my area of research, my interests are mainly quantitative. I have done some qualitative research, but I'm focusing on quantitative aspect of scientific research. So I would definitely focus on quantitative research. But again, I just want to say there is a lot of things which I may have to talk about if I want to in qualitative research, in qualitative synthesis. There is review studies, there is a lot of different types of review studies, systematic reviews, meta-analysis. These are different quantitative aspects, but again, in qualitative aspects, we have qualitative reviews such as evidence synthesis, meta-analysis, meta-synthesis. It's not meta-analysis. It may not be having kind of some data analysis component, but again, we have qualitative studies which also utilizes some component of data analysis. So there are other qualitative review studies. So we also have some mixed method studies, which is a combination of quantitative as well as qualitative. These things may be very basic to basic knowledge to many of you already having it, and I don't want to delve deep into those. So I'll just go ahead with the aspect of quantitative synthesis. So the synthesis is a necessary thing when you start writing a review of literature. So when we have figured out a number of literature, a number of studies which are already there in the academic field or research platform, we have to do some synthesis. We have to do some sort of analysis with the studies which are existing. It can just lead to a meta-analysis. So meta-analysis is basically looking at some prevalence estimates or some associations, which is supported by number of studies, more than 2 studies. So if you find out a lot of studies in a field, you try to do a comparative study between those studies. So you do a meta-analysis of a prevalence. For example, if you have prevalence of depression or in a specific population, or in pregnant women. So if you have if you have literature which is examining the prevalence estimates of depression or psychiatric illnesses among pregnant women, you search the literature whatever is existing on that topic, and you get a lot of quantitative studies. Mainly when you do the meta-analysis, you have to have quantitative studies which assesses the prevalence estimates. and you synthesize those studies, you explore those prevalence estimates and do a meta-analysis. There is meta-regression and things like that to do analysis based on these studies. So that's what when that happens when we do a quantitative study, which is having kind of meta-analysis. It's not necessary to have systematically reviewed studies when you want to do a quantitative study, but again, that's recommended. I'll go. So the first stage is all about reading and exploring the literature, existing literature. So the second stage is having a method or reading about the methods and understanding the methods and mastering it. So we all have to have at least a single one method or scientific method of approaching a topic and exploring and creating an evidence from the existing literature. So there is a lot of methods, there is a lot of data analysis tools. These are not exclusively for the quantitative studies. There are many data analysis methods which are also qualitative in nature. For example, in this list of 17 data analysis methods, there are content analysis, thematic analysis, narrative analysis, grounded theory analysis. So those are basically the qualitative research data analysis tools. So after synthesizing the results from the existing literature, we have to have, we already get a topic. So when we have that topic or the research problem in our mind, we think about the hypothesis. That's when we think about a topic, we have to have an idea about what is existing, what the existing evidence is suggesting. For example, depression among older women is more associated with their socioeconomic characteristics, for example. So pregnant women from poor socioeconomic background are more likely to be depressed. So this is kind of existing evidence. So we already knew this aspect of that topic. So we already finalized the research problem, whether it's a serious problem among pregnant women, and whether there is already existing studies about these pregnant women who are from different socioeconomic strata. And then we think about what is the hypothesis we can put forward when we write the paper. So we always have a null hypothesis and an alternative hypothesis. So conventionally, the research used to be focusing on the null hypothesis and then establishing that it should be rejected and the alternative hypothesis should be accepted. But again, there is this recent literature which is using the alternative hypothesis itself. So alternative hypothesis is a hypothesis which is against the null hypothesis. So we already know something which is existing. So if we want to say there is some difference between socioeconomic strata, among the socioeconomic strata, those who are coming from poor background, those who are coming from better background, whether they have different prevalence of depression. So we have we want to establish whether there is some difference in these different socioeconomic groups. There comes the alternative hypothesis. That's the alternative hypothesis we want to establish. So this is the recent literature norm which has been followed by the research community. So I'll go ahead with the third stage. So when we have already finalized the topic, finalized the hypothesis to be tested. So hypothesis is always a research hypothesis to be tested. We have to have a methodological idea how to support the hypothesis, how to test this hypothesis using different data analysis tools. After having that methodological perspective of what we are going to explore, we have to start writing. So I would say as I said in the beginning, it's not all linear. you can just start writing in the beginning as an initial step, and then when you start writing, you get to explore a lot of things. You get to have idea about the existing literature and research problem in detail, and then you have more ideas about how to approach that topic. So we start writing the draft of a manuscript. So when we start writing, we have to have a lot of patience. We have to have a lot of sacrifices, I would say, because when we start writing, we have to be ruthless to ourselves. We may write a lot of things, but again, those things may not make sense when we read some literature. It's already been covered by a lot of literature. So we have to just cut short those things, and we have to start writing again, or we have to rewrite the whole sentences. So when we start writing, I would say make a habit of daily writing, and learn to use AI-based, artificial intelligence-based chat GPT or chat platform, whatever is available to you, to help you create original content, not create original content for you. So I'm glad that I never used ChatGPT in my previous publications. I did a lot of publications. I never had to depend on ChatGPT, mainly because I got good collaborators in my publications. I got a lot of experts in the field to help me with writing the draft again, editing the draft again. So as we all are in the early career stage, we are lacking a lot of academic experiences. We are lacking a lot of expertise in the field. We may not be able to write the perfect draft in the first stage. So we may have to depend on somebody or some platform which is helping us creating that particular content. So I would say, so be original, but again, you can depend on different platforms, including ChatGPT, but don't plagiarize. So there is recent literature suggesting that there is huge plagiarism going on while publishing the papers. And there is evidence suggesting that there is a lot of papers which have been retracted. So once the plagiarism has been caught up, നമ്മൾ ഓൾറെഡി സിമിലാരിറ്റീസ് ഉള്ള പേപ്പേഴ്സ് ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ, നമ്മൾ വേറെ ആളുകളുടെ പേപ്പേഴ്സ് കോപ്പി ചെയ്ത് ജസ്റ്റ് കോപ്പി ആൻഡ് പേസ്റ്റ് ഓർ കട്ട് പേസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നമ്മളുടെ പേപ്പേഴ്സ് അത് സ്ക്രൂട്ടിനി ചെയ്യപ്പെടും. വെൻ യു സബ്മിറ്റ് എ പേപ്പർ ടു എ ജേർണൽ, ഏത് ജേർണൽ ആയി കഴിഞ്ഞാലും അവർക്ക് ദേ ഹാവ് ദെയർ ഓൺ ടൂൾസ് ഫോർ ചെക്കിംഗ് ദ പ്ലാജിയറിസം. നമ്മളുടെ പേപ്പർ നമ്മൾ സ്വന്തം എഴുതിയിട്ടില്ല എന്നുള്ളത് മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ വേണ്ടി അവർക്ക് ഐതന്റിക്കേറ്റ്, അതുപോലെ സോ ഗ്രാമർലി ഈസ് ഓൾവേസ് അവൈലബിൾ ടു എനിബഡി. ഐതന്റിക്കേറ്റ് ഈസ് സംതിങ് വിച്ച് ഇസ് പെയ്ഡ് ഫോർ. സോ അവർക്ക് അവരുടേതായിട്ടുള്ള ടൂൾസ് ഉണ്ട് ടു ചെക്ക് വെദർ ദർ ഇസ് സിമിലാരിറ്റീസ് ബിറ്റ്വീൻ യുവർ സ്റ്റഡി ആൻഡ് ദ previously existing studies. So നമ്മളെപ്പോഴും be aware of if there is any plagiarism happening when you write anything in the paper or in any places. It's not just the paper, it's not just the research article you are going to submit in a journal. It can be just your emails or just the PPT you are going to present. So you have to acknowledge the source of the content you are taking from wherever the place you are taking, and you have to cite those references if you are writing a paper, research paper. It's not just sufficient to cite the paper. Also, there is recent debates about how much is similarities going to be punishable, going to be problematic in the research community. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ simply copy paste ചെയ്തു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ, of course that's a similarity, that's a plagiarism thing. But again, there is also a good amount of research coming out from a lot of people who are just copy pasting, but then after pasting the thing they do paraphrasing. അപ്പോൾ നമ്മൾ എപ്പോഴും when we think about plagiarism maximum minimize ചെയ്യാൻ നമ്മൾ ഉപയോഗിക്കുന്ന ഒരു ടൂളാണ് paraphrasing. പക്ഷേ recently there is evidence paraphrasing is not a good tool, and it's going to make the things worse. So it's always have to have our own thoughts, our own way of putting the things in writing. So plagiarism avoid ചെയ്യാൻ നമ്മളെപ്പോഴും try ചെയ്യേണ്ടത് right from scratch. There is nothing in our mind. So from your blank mind, you think about something and you explore your review. You do your review of literature and have ideas about the existing evidence, and then start to write from scratch. And then when you these tools are used for avoiding plagiarism, but there may be some among these. There are some tools which may not be recommendable to all of you. So it's sometimes paraphrasing and summarizing. You can make the paraphrasing tool an efficient one after when you get expertise in that field. Like for example, when you write a lot of things and you already know that what you're writing, and then you already know what's existing. നമ്മൾ കോപ്പി പേസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്ത ആ ഒരു പേപ്പറിലുള്ള കാര്യങ്ങൾ നമ്മൾ അതേപടി എഴുതുമ്പോഴാണ് ശരിക്കും പ്ലാജറിസം. അതിന്റെ കൂടെ നമ്മൾ ജസ്റ്റ് ഇത് ഈ പറഞ്ഞ ടൂൾസിൽ ഉള്ളത് തന്നെ നമ്മൾ ചിലപ്പോൾ എന്താ പറയാ യൂട്ടിലൈസ് ചെയ്യുമ്പോഴും ചിലപ്പോൾ there may be some element of similarities or plagiarism. So we have to be very much careful when we write things, and of course never forget, good scientific writing is simple and clear. Don't use a lot of vocabularies. Don't use never use a lot of difficult words which are not understandable to the wider audience. Again, learn to write accurately and parsimoniously. So we don't need to use a lot of what we say sentences, long sentences to convince a simple idea. So we can just simply write what we want to write, and we don't have to make it a long, lengthy ones. So we have to be always precise and very clear in writing the academic stuff. So this is the third stage. I would just go ahead with different aspects of ChatGPT, which is so much common in the day-to-day life of ours. And we have to be very careful when we use ChatGPT. Of course, appropriate use of ChatGPT is entering your own text and asking for help with wordsmithing. So when you want to want to depend on ChatGPT for writing something, you have to be very careful. You have to give a lot of content to the ChatGPT itself, and then if the ChatGPT is giving modifications or revisions to that content, that's always acceptable. But again, if the whole thing, if the whole paper, there is recent studies going on about putting the whole paper to ChatGPT and doing the stuff, editing and revising the things. So that is also got so idupolathe karyangalokke, it's always the journals have their own tools to catch these kind of illegal or not. So plagiarism is not illegal, it's kind of retractable. So when you do plagiarism, papers can be just retracted. Journals അവർ already publish ചെയ്ത പേപ്പേഴ്സ് അവരുടെ ജേണലിൽ നിന്നും ഒഴിവാക്കാനുള്ള ഒരു കാരണമായി വരാം plagiarism, but it's not illegal. So again, there is copyright infringement, which is illegal. So this is not actually copyright infringement. So again, there can be some situations where it's going to be a copyright infringement. So we have to be careful about the similarities or plagiarism we are going to have in our papers, maybe consciously or may not be consciously. So recently there is so the US election is going on, and President Biden is having a lot of allegations against him on his plagiarism in his historic talks. So Republicans always ട്രംപും മറ്റുള്ള റിപ്പബ്ലിക്കൻസും ഒക്കെ യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്ന ഒരു വലിയൊരു അലിഗേഷൻ, ഒരു എന്താ പറയാ, ബൈഡനെതിരായിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു പ്രശ്നമാണ് ഈ പ്ലാജറിസം. സോ plagiarism is not just in academic writing, it's always everywhere. So we have to be careful, especially in academic writing when it comes to a matter of scholarly audience. So the inappropriate use of ChatGPT is to write entire sections, to create arguments, to craft papers. So these are not at all allowed, and it can be caught by the journalists or whatever the platform you are going to submit your write-up. So the things we have to know when we write the paper. So this is actually in the end stage of the paper. We are going to write a discussion or the conclusions in the paper. So we already got an idea about how to examine or how to synthesize the literature, how to have a research hypothesis, research question, research hypothesis, objectives, and then research method, the data analysis tools to explore the research question we are going to have. And then after exploring the research problem using different data analysis tools or just a single data analysis tool, we already have evidence with us. We have to convincingly write. We have to efficiently put the things in the write-up by being supported by the evidence we already have. So first thing when we write the discussion in a paper, so of course, always when we write something which is academic or some research topic, we always have a particular, what we say, pattern, starting from introduction, methods, results, and then discussion. So we already have introduction as an outcome of literature review and things like that. And then in the end of that introduction, we have research methodology, research objectives, research hypothesis, and then maybe some rationale to doing the research that, of course, is included in the introduction. And then after introduction, we have methodology or methods, which may include your participants, your sample study or sample population, whatever the population you have. So there may be some sample studies you have, which is the case in case of some literature review or systematic review or other review studies. So we always have some methods. Every study has to have some method. For example, in review studies, we have to have some methodological part in which we explain how we are going to do the analysis with the existing literature evidence. And then when we already explained the methodology in our study, we have to have the results section in which we always talk about the new evidence we already got after the data analysis using the methods. So we may have a particular section for results. So in some studies, it depends on different study questions. For example, in some studies, we may have just the results and discussion as a single section. So we may have just summary of the results and findings, and then discussing what are the implications of those findings, and then coming to a concluding remarks. So I would say in most of the quantitative research publications, we can see the results as a separate section, but after that, we have discussion and conclusions as a different section. So when we write discussion, we always have to summarize in a paragraph the objectives, contributions, and general findings. We have to have a set structure of the discussion. So again, it's my strategy. There may be some other strategies. There may be some different strategies across different journals too. So some journals have different way of approaching the discussion section. You have to have all the limitations, all the strength of your study to be acknowledged in the first paragraph of the discussion. So I would say first paragraph is all about summary, maybe sometimes limitations and strength, but again, in most research, it's summary of the findings, summary of the contribution of your particular research study, and then the general findings of your study. So after the first paragraph, you have to have a lot of interpretation of your own findings and kind of comparing those findings with the existing literature evidence. And then you can also touch the hypothesis you already put in the beginning of your paper. You can just simply mention whether your findings are in line with your hypothesis or not. So once you have all the findings and all the interpretation of your results, your like implications of your specific findings, you can always think about connecting those findings with some theoretical or conceptual model. For example, when we think about the depression prevalence among women, we always have to have a conceptual framework, some theories which is supporting kind of associations between socioeconomic, social determinants of health, or something like that. So that's actually a conceptual model you can put in your study. So once you have, it's not necessarily to have kind of theoretical or conceptual model to be connected when you write discussion. But again, if you already have mentioned some theories or some conceptual model in your beginning, in the introduction, after synthesizing the literature, of course you have to have some discussion about those in the discussion section. So after these, you have to give more insights about the implications of your findings. It can include just implications for policy, practice, or other future research. So implications for future research is an important element when you do any cross-sectional studies. I don't know if you are familiar with different types of research studies. There are cross-sectional studies, there are longitudinal studies, there are experimental studies. I don't know if I will be able to cover those part in this session, but again, I would say we have to have a lot of implications for future research. For example, you are exploring a specific topic, and you yourself have a lot of limitations. You may not be able to approach that topic with all its elements. For example, you may be limited with the data availability. For example, you just have a single time data set. You just have a data which is just examining the prevalence estimates of all pregnant women just at a point of time, and then you are not having multiple follow-ups for that particular topic. So if you are in that situation, you can't just simply say that socioeconomic status is resulting in higher prevalence of depression. It's not the case. It may not be the case. It can be just being depressed lead to being passive, or being not doing any activity, or being not going for work, which ultimately leads to poor socioeconomic status of that particular person. So there may be temporality, there may be like, so I don't know if these technical terms are familiar, but again, yeah, I would just simply say we have to have some idea about the type of the study and have to acknowledge the limitations, and uh, be transparent about whatever you are studying. So it may be the case that you are having just a point of time data, and you are saying it's going to be a cause and effect model. Like it's going to be a causal factor for depression. It may not be the case. So you cannot simply say so poor socioeconomic status causes depression using a single time point data. So you have to be careful about that, and you have to acknowledge these things. So when we write the research papers, we have to use very particular terminology which are meant to be used for cross-sectional studies, for example. So when you do some cross-sectional studies, you have to say, you can only say that it is related to other socioeconomic status, is related to depression. It's not that it is causing depression. It can just cause the depression, or it can be an effect, after effect of depression. So you have to be careful about those. These are the things we have to be aware when we write the discussion. And of course, note that qualitative and mixed methods papers are often requiring different strategies, and that should be taken care of when we write the discussion and conclusions. I'll go ahead with some other tips for general academic writing. It may not be just the research articles. So we talked about a lot of things related to research articles, scientific publications, but again, we all engage with a lot of other academic writing things. So for example, when we just write an email, we have to be very kind of precise, be organized, and use use academic language when we write emails. That makes the email more impressive to the person who is receiving it. Again, it can be just sending an email to your mentor, your ustad, or your whoever is going to be at the other end. So you have to, we can just simply follow these tips, and we can make it more effective and efficient. And sometimes people don't read the emails because of the problems with the write-up, not because of the person who is sending. So it can be just a lengthy email without a lot of content, or it may be just unorganized email which is not having proper way of putting the things. And then the person who is receiving the email may be so busy, or maybe just not interested in reading a lot of things in the email you write. So we have to have the words very precisely put there. We have to have the academic writing reflect in our writing emails, or whatever the academic writing we engage in. So use fewer words, avoid shen words, for example, like explanation, or uh, whatever the nouns related to kind of verbs. We have to think about whether it can be just put differently, which is also having the same meaning, but again not having a lot of words. For example, instead of using to give an explanation, we can just say to explain. So again, in most of the academic writing, we have to have an idea of like putting the things in active voice instead of passive voice. So it's always recommendable to use active voice when we write academically. For example, when we say a particular a person who has studied these, and then the studies have showed these. We should not say that it has been studied by this person, which actually makes the sentence longer. It's not just making it longer, but also making it sort of difficult to put it in an efficient way. For example, studied by somebody else. So it's not that impressive to a scholarly audience. So we have to we can just simply follow these kind of tips and then make our writing more efficient. So about being organized, we have to have good structure. So when we write emails, we always write everything what we have to write in a single paragraph or just two paragraphs. But in my experience with receiving a lot of emails from different experts in the field, again, I'm in the early career stage, but I would say from my smaller portion of experiences, I realized that we have to have a good structure in the write-up, whatever we are going to write. For example, in an email, when you want to put different points, you can simply put points in like numbered way, or maybe just different paragraphs, very short paragraphs, which have different content in each paragraph, so that the person who is receiving the email will be not just ignoring it. So that would be a good strategy to have attention from that person. Again, connect to each sentence and paragraph. So when you just write the points in paragraphs, you have to have connection between those sentences, or you just can have some contraction verbs, or some words which are connecting or joining your paragraphs, your sentences. It's also very important when you write the research articles, when you write the discussion, or when you write introduction. You always have to have a very good structure, very good connection between the sentences. So if you just write for example, this study has found this, that study has found that. So that there is no connection, there is no good structure which is more efficient. So you have to think about how to make it more, to make it better to the audience. In that case, maybe some words, for example, also the other studies have, or maybe in addition, other literature has suggested, or maybe like furthermore, you have more studies, or further, or just besides, we have the other study has found these. So there are some words we have to have in mind when we write the research article. So those are the things we have to be following when if you want to make your write-up a quality one. Again, avoid contractions and phrasal verbs. For example, uh, avoid using it's or like would have or there is. So we always write these things, but when you write academically, you have to have these word very separately. You cannot just simply have these contractions. Again, you can't just simply have the phrasal verbs. For example, check out for view. So as I said in the previous slides, the good research writing is always simple and clear. So using multiple phrasal verbs or contractions are not going to make it better. So we have to be careful about that. Again, avoid idioms and colloquial expressions. For example, when we talk about not getting to a point, we say beat around the bush, but that's not good in academic writing. We have to avoid those things. Again, there is like colloquial expressions. For example, I'm gonna, or the study's gonna, or they are gonna, so they wanna, or you all. So these are like expressions which are used in colloquial language, which is also not good in academic writing. And these are the good tips. I hope these will benefit writing academically, whatever the academic writing you're going to write, maybe research articles or whatever we talked about. And again, there is a lot of things we have to cover uh, in this particular topic, navigating academic writing process. So I think we have limited time now. So I'll just go ahead with any questions or concerns or suggestions you have after listening to this session. I'll try to answer any of your questions, but again, feel free to give suggestions or recommendation or whatever you feel good. You can simply put here. And Jazakumullah khair. I'll just stop sharing my slides. Aftab, you have some question or suggestion? I don't know if it's mistakenly raised. The hand's shown raised. And please accept my apologies if there is something which is very obvious to be covered in this session. But I hope whatever I have covered is going to benefit some of you at least. So I think we don't have any questions or so thank you for your patience. Okay, there is some question in the chat box. So this is not a PDF, it's a PPT. I see if I can share. So the journal selection, yeah, so an important question from, I don't know who the person is, but again, yeah. Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know if the organizer is able to make you speak. Okay, so there are two aspects of this topic, navigating academic writing process and idea to publications. So there are a couple of comments I would try to address here. I hope I suppose the organizer has already left and there is no one to give you permission to speak. So I'll just go ahead with the questions here. So there are so this selection of journals is a big thing. So as I said in the beginning, when we think about writing any research article, we have to start thinking about what is the platform we are going to publish this paper. It can be just some open access journal or just hybrid journal or just subscription based journals. So there are different types of journals these days. from my experience, I feel like it's all going to be kind of a business thing. Like it's all marketing. It's all kind of, so people are earning out of research publications. Of course, people are finding it difficult to publish their papers because there is high article processing charges or some other submission fees. But again, there is, so when you get familiarized with the journals and the way they are functioning, you'll understand that there is, of course, we all have different options to in selecting the journals. So there are many journals which are open access. By open access, I mean there is an article processing charge charged by, from the authors. So when you try to submit a paper, you have to pay. So that's a difficult thing we all have to go through when we want to select a journal. So we have to be selective if you want to make your paper published with open access. You can just simply contact people or contact some organizations who are funding your research. So there are many organizations in India and abroad who will be welcoming to fund some support some funding for your publications. But again, that would be a kind of complicated thing. You have to have some affiliation with that organization, or that would be difficult. So again, there is a lot of journals which are giving options which are more hybrid. Like, so hybrid means you have open access publication option. Again, you have subscription based publication option. So subscription based means you submit the paper, you publish the paper without any charge from your side, but it has been charged from the readers, from the wider audience. So whoever is going to read the paper, they'll have to pay and read the paper. Again, you may not be having that paper in the public domain, so you will not get more citations, you will not get more readings of your paper, there won't be many access to your paper. So these are the metrics you have to know when you write some research articles. So these are like these metrics, for example, citation. So of course there is like self-citation and other citations. So the citations in general, you get more citations when you publish papers in open access. So in my case, I got waivers from the open access journals. For example, the BMC journals, they always have huge APC, article processing charge, which is like for single paper, you have to pay $2,000 or $3,000, which is around 2.5 lakh in Indian rupees. That's a big amount, and we are never going to pay that, of course. But again, I don't know if somebody's having that much money and able to pay. But again, yeah. So if we publish those papers in open access journals, we have a lot of citations, we have a lot of accesses to the paper, we get more metrics, we get what we say good impression about the paper. But again, it depends on your quality of paper as well. So you just publish something which is just a scratch, and you don't have that quality in the paper, and then that's not going to get a lot of citations, of course, unless you are citing it yourself and trying to get a lot of self citations. So again, depending on the citation from your side or from other so self citation is not a bad thing, but again, when you do self citation, you have to be careful about your career. How is it going to benefit your self citing and increasing the citations? But again, if your research area is completely similar to what you have already published, you can simply cite, and that's actually considered good. Again, so we were talking about the journal selection. So you have subscription-based journals, you have open access-based journals, you have hybrid journals. So we always may have to think about some hybrid journals or subscription-based journals. So for getting a waiver, so waiver is a kind of thing which is benefiting a lot of people from the developing world, low and middle income countries. People from these countries have special consideration from most of the journals. for example, BMC journals, PLOS One, there is BMJ journals, there are many other journals these are like health related journals, there are many other economics journals, there are sociology journals, there are different disciplines journals. So they all have a kind of provision for providing a full waiver. That means you get APC, article processing charge, waived, so you don't have to pay anything. Again, your paper is going to be online, like in the public domain, and it's going to be an open access. So you can try, if you have good affiliation with some university or some institution, and you are able to arrange a letter from the institute saying that you can, the institute is not providing any research funding or anything, and then you submit that letter to the journal, or there is always a provision in the journal website to whom to contact for the waiver. So once you do that, you get hopefully you get some success in that. Otherwise, you have to go with some other journals. So again, always think about the journals in your area. Always think about the journals, see the journal scope and journals mission and vision, whatever they have in their main website, and go ahead with the most appropriate journal you have. But again, have a list of journals. It may be just a desk rejection, or maybe just a rejection after review. So I didn't talk about I didn't talk about the things which are related to the publication. It's actually in the final stage. So if that may require a lot of time, that may require 1 more hour. So, but again, yeah, these are the things you can think about. And after that, there is another Christian publishing journals entering to. Yeah, so there are many other tools as well when you write papers. For example, referencing tools, which may also take a lot of time to explain. There are Zotero, there is Mendeley, there is EndNote. There are many other softwares or tools which are very helpful in citing the references. You can simply cite the papers, and then simply clicking on a button, you get the whole bibliography in the end of the paper. That's the most efficient way of doing research articles, and I have been utilizing that. That's the main thing which is saving me a lot of time in my career, and I have been advocating that to many of my colleagues, many of my co-authors, and all of them are trying to get familiar with these type of referencing tools, and that's the most efficient way of doing it. Again, there is another question. Is it question? If I write a paper about economics related subjects. Okay. So writing the things like in our own way, like we all are. I hope there are many from Madinatun College of Islamic Sciences. We all have a kind of thought. We have to connect the things, whatever is we are going to do, with our religious background or whatever we want to say. So even in my research area, in my research publications, I have published a number of papers which are looking at religiosity, religious participation, and spiritual experiences among older people. So these are like, so it's actually kind of maybe a later stage thing. We all have to have some portion of some expertise in the field of writing publications, and then this is my opinion. Of course, it can be different for many. So we can simply have experience with publishing papers, but again, if we have very specific research problem, research topic, hypothesis, objectives, whatever it is, if we have all that sorted out, if we have all that figured out, relating it with whatever the Islamic perspectives are, we can always, it's always like many of the journals are always welcoming whatever the religion or religious related things are coming out. So there are many journals which are focusing on which are managed by what we say, some spiritual or religious organizations. There are many from Australia. I found in the health field there are many which are looking at religiosity, spirituality, and health outcomes, mental health outcomes, and things like that. So I think the question is about writing something on banking, Islamic banking, economics. Um, so yeah, I think there are many journals which are focusing on Islamic banking. There are there are journals which are focusing on Islamic like finance and things like that. So I think there are journals you can find. But again, thinking about the journal in the beginning is a step I always put forward when I write the paper. It can be different. So it may be different for you. For example, you write a paper and you start writing the paper without having knowledge about the journals, and finalize the paper, have a first draft of the manuscript. So once you have the first draft of the manuscript, you can think about the journal. That's also a strategy, which can also be a successful one. But again, yeah. So there are journal guidelines for keeping the papers, keeping the manuscript very formatted and kind of, I don't know, there are journals which are strictly following those guidelines, but again, most of the journals, in my experience, are not following their own guidelines very strictly. So you're good to go with whatever the write-up you have. But again, usually the research articles are ranging between 3,000 to 6,000 words. So many of the journals put a cut threshold of 3,000 words or 5,000 words. And even if you cross that limit, they don't care about it when you submit the paper. It's just that you should not go beyond like 6,000, 10,000 or so. So it's always take on you. It's about your feeling about the paper. So if you feel that the paper is meant to be so lengthy, the topic is that demanding that lengthiness, so you can simply put that way, and then you can think about other journals which are not having that kind of guidelines, which is limiting the words till 3,000 or 5,000. So there are multiple options in journals. And there is another question: is there any advantage in writing papers from other field studies, like a psychology focused one writing from Islamic history, economics, and other fields? So this question is actually kind of, it's always about your areas of research. As I said in the beginning, it's about what interests you, what is your feeling about your skill sets. So if you have good skills in other disciplines, of course we all are in the early career stage, we can explore things which are not in our field, but again, yeah, we may find it interesting to us later on. So who knows how things work out in our later stage, like it's our early career stage. So in my opinion, we should not stick to a specific area of research and just stick to what we have been taught, what we are learning throughout our career. But again, you always can link the things if you explore. So if you're a psychologist, if you're having a master's in psychology, you can have a study being done in other discipline, for example, economics. So there is this behavioral economics, which actually links between like psychology and economics. So you have that multidisciplinary approach to that particular aspect, and you can just link your area of research and the study you are going to conduct. So I always say it's so these days it's always becoming a lot more of interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary studies rather than just core economics, core sociology, core psychology. So even in my lab, in my experience, all the professors, all my colleagues, they all are doing research which are not sticking to a particular domain, like kind of it is actually looking at what we say depressive symptoms or sleep problems from a perspective of economics, like how the economic disparity is affecting sleep problems, and again looking at different health outcomes, for example frailty or some other clinical outcomes. So these are like linking different disciplines. So of course you have to open your career at this early stage, but again you have to have idea what you are going to do and what how is it going to benefit you, and maybe later on you will find a good place and you will find a specific specialized areas of research, and you will be successful, hopefully. So yeah, so about the referencing tools, I would say I've been using Zotero. I have in my past studies, I have used Mendeley, I have used EndNote, I have used Zotero, but the most efficient and most less time consuming tool is Zotero. So you just, so how does that work is like you just put your you just have the extension, Chrome extension or whatever, in your laptop, in your search engine, and when you search the paper, you find the paper, and after you reading the paper, you find it better to cite, you simply link, or you just simply export that paper, that specific paper, to your Zotero folder. It's just on a click, so you don't have to upload all the PDF or anything, and it's going to take very small amount of memory in your system. So you get the paper exported in your Zotero. So in the Word document, even whatever the document you're working on, you have another web link or linking web extension, whatever it is, in the web Word file. So you just click on that, and then you have multiple options, whether to cite a paper, to import a bibliography based on whatever the citations you have put in the paper. So that's the most efficient tool I have ever used in my research experience, and I would recommend using that in your academic writing. It may be just some journal articles or some other academic writing. So hopefully that will help. Zotero is the efficient one I found. There may be some others. Yeah. If I write a paper about, yeah. So I think I have covered most of the comments. I noticed that you have conducted a remarkable number of longitudinal control. Okay, thank you. How did you manage to complete such a vast amount of research? So there is, okay. So as I said in the beginning, it's always about perseverance. I just got a paper accepted, as I said, in the last week. That took 3 years of like effort. It's not just me. There is a good team. So there is, I am the leading author in that paper. So there is 5 to 6 papers. So I think, yeah, as I remember, was somebody who mentioned about the collaborations, to talk about collaborations. So in the talk, I mentioned about having a good team for a successful career, for a successful publications, or it may be just one paper taking a lot of time, having a lot of people involved in the paper would benefit you and the paper. It's not just the paper. So from my experience, I learned the most from my co-authors. It's not just my reading. It's also an element. I did my master's in economics. I did my master's in population studies. I enrolled for a master's in sociology. I passed the first year exam for sociology. It's my second year, but it's IGNO, so it's giving me a lot of time. So I'm just reading. Again, I'm not reading at the moment. I'm a little occupied with my current entitlements. So what I experienced is that your collaborators. So as I said in the talk somewhere, you cannot just succeed in your life just alone. It's always you're always a part of a community. When you come to a research community, when you start writing research publications, you're becoming a person, you're becoming an individual, just an individual in the research community. You cannot just have an expertise in any field unless you don't have good collaboration with some good people. So it's not just collaborating with whoever you feel good. It's all about collaborating with somebody who is expert, somebody who is going to help you, somebody who is going to give you some knowledge, some information about what is good in your field. So from my experience, reaching out to people who are working on similar topics would be the best idea, the best strategy to make it more successful. And again, collaborations is the key to success. Always a kind of motivational quote you always hear. So there is questions coming, and I don't know if the time is over, or again I'll just keep it short. So first experience with the publications, I did my first publication when I was in IIPS. I was in first year of my PhD. I started working on it. I started collaborating with people. I didn't start it myself. I started thinking about an idea. uh, Again, there was two ideas which were going parallelly. One was about something to do about coronavirus pandemic affecting um, people in the state of Kerala. So I was a part of a team who were like all of them were from IIPS. So that was a kind of uh, quantitative study. But again, there was another qualitative study going on parallelly that was also about coronavirus pandemic affecting the psychosocial health of police personnel in the Mumbai city area. That was actually a collaboration with a professor from Mumbai University who was a geographer by profession. But again, we were successful doing that study. That was a small study, but again, that was so. I would always say start with a small study. So of course we always think that when we do a research publication, it should be perfect, it should be a big one, it should be a breakthrough in our career, it should be a lot of like getting attention from the people. But from my experience, starting from small things would be a good strategy if you are, I don't know, if you are not good at doing the big studies at the initial stage. So do something, and do collaborate with someone you find better. Uh, of course, there is not always big people or the best people you can approach in the beginning of your research career. You can simply reach out to your colleagues who have some experience in publications. So my first two papers were coronavirus, and then one paper was looking at anemia prevalence among children. That was completely different from what I was doing in my PhD. But again, that was helping me out to have collaborators in my research studies. And that's how I started writing papers. As I remember it correct, it was prevalence of anemia among children under 5, using a secondary data set which has, I think, thousands of sample children who provided data on their health outcomes, including anemia, and that was focusing on as the sample was from Bihar and Uttar Pradesh, and I was a part of that team who were already having a lot of papers and doing studies, and I learned from them a lot of things, and I'm still grateful to them. So having a good collaboration, it requires a lot of good qualities as a researcher. So whatever we got as good qualities in our experience in Madinatun College of Islamic Science, it's of course definitely going to benefit you. That's for sure. That's from my experience. Whatever the qualities our teachers taught us, our asatida taught us, it's going to give us a lot of opportunities in our career. For example, being patient, um, and always being acceptable. Like, for example, if you receive a lot of criticisms from your colleagues, a lot of criticism, or uh, maybe somebody who is trying to suppress you in your early career stage, it may being having a patience, having those like kind of all the qualities, for example, the kindness, generosity, all that is going to uh, affect you in a good way, positive way. It's going to give you a lot of reward in your research career. So, for example, if you write a paper and you have started a collaboration with some a good team, and you did most of the part in the paper, and you feel like you have to get the first authorship, you have to have the lead authorship in the paper. But as a early career researcher, you have to have that patience and generosity and compromising behavior so that your collaborators feel good about you, your collaborators have a good impression on you, and then you get more collaborations, more works, more projects in your future. And that's the important thing in your early career stage. And yeah, these are the things I wanted to share. I hope this help you navigate yourself in a better career and have a successful research career if you're looking for kind of research career. But again, yeah, hopefully whatever I shared will benefit you all in your academic as well as somehow in non-academic career as well. Inshallah, I'll try to keep in touch. If somebody is wanting to reach out to me, please reach out. You may have my email or whatever, but again, yeah, you can simply access my email through my publications, or inshallah let me know if you have any questions and concerns, and I'm more than welcoming to help you or respond to your comments or suggestions, inshallah. Okay, jazakumullah khair for your patience, and it's been already 1.5 hours. Hope I can just leave if there is nothing further to be discussed, or I'll wait for 1 or 2 minutes and I'll leave, inshallah. Do you, if you guys have any questions or concerns? But again, I know it's too late for you. So yeah, people are leaving. Jazakumullah khair. Meet you next time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.